All right. So thanks for joining us, everybody, for this little Q&A session about the Community Achievement Awards. And there's a few topics that we're going to cover today. Firstly, why it's worth taking the time to submit, because Matt just mentioned in the chat before we hit record that he's got concurrent meetings happening, and he's got a very busy schedule. And we know everyone has a busy time. It doesn't really matter where you are in the year these days. I feel like January used to be the quiet time, and now it's busy in January and throughout the year. So just reminding people why it's worth quickly filling out that form and hitting that submit button, even when you feel busy. There's some practical tips from us at the awards team. We're going to cover what a judge is looking for, because sometimes that does feel like a bit of a secret thing. People fill out their applications and they're kind of hoping, that they're hitting the right marks. But we will shed some light on that. And at the end, we'll have time for some questions as well. So firstly, practical tips from the awards team. Oh, sorry, I skipped, didn't I? We missed one. Why it's worth taking the time to submit. So there's a few reasons off the top of the list here. Anyone who submits will get a certificate of achievement from our awards team, a Community Achievement Award certificate. And on top of that, we send media releases out to the local media. So anyone, again, who submitted, we will find your local media, talk to them, send out a media release and ask them to cover your story. We'll also invite you to be featured on our social media. And these things are completely free. You don't have to do a single thing. We do that for you. And lastly, at the end of the awards process, every single person or group who's nominated will have access to group mentoring sessions to help you, get the most out of what you're doing to further impact. And could be some leadership tips in there as well. At our awards night at the end of the year, it's pretty special as well, because anyone nominated is invited to come along and we will present them up on stage as a nominee or a semi-finalist or a finalist. So yeah, just some good reasons to do it. And lastly, the reflective process. We hear time and time again from people who have let us know that that's actually been one of the unexpected benefits of submitting an award, a nomination in the awards, is just that ability, or that taking that moment to reflect back on your journey, whether it's the last year, 2 years, or more, and thinking, I'm actually really proud of what I've achieved, or even highlighting some gaps and trying to find some areas where you can improve for next time. So that's actually a sneaky hidden benefit that a lot of people mention. So some practical tips from the award team. Now, these are for the nomination form itself on our website, which if you have been trying to update your nomination recently, you may have noticed we have had some ups and some downs. We apologize for that. We're going through some server issues with server load, and we are actively trying to fix it. So if you are having trouble, and Matt, I believe you did mention that, let us know, and we're going to be really, really flexible and forgiving with deadlines this year, because we acknowledge that has been an issue, and that has impacted some people. So yeah, don't worry. We're aware, and we will factor that in and make sure you've got the time to complete what you need to get completed. So in terms of using the browser, we do suggest using Google Chrome, because the website has been optimized and kind of built with Google Chrome in mind. It does seem to be the most commonly used browser these days. So if you're using Edge or Firefox or something else, it will obviously still work completely fine. But we do suggest Google Chrome if you're happy to switch, or if you're using Google Chrome anyway, then that's a nice coincidence. One little tip as well is that when you're typing in the questions, you notice that the default little window for where you're typing in is actually quite small. It's wide, but it's not deep. There's a little click and drag icon down the bottom of that little text box, and you can open that up to as big as you like, as big as your screen can fit. And so if you're struggling of seeing all the stuff you're writing, you can easily do that. If you like to write in a Word document and copy paste into the nomination form, then I do suggest you copy as plain text into that form. It clears out any weird formatting from Word and makes your text nice and easily read by the judges. And in our text boxes, we have a whole heap of formatting. So I suggest you add the formatting from within the nomination form. For example, dot points, bold for headings, underlines, that kind of thing. In the nomination form as well, whether you're an individual and you're nominating and you put your first name and your last name in, please note that's how you'll be referred to for the rest of the awards process. So if you like Matt, write in Matt. If you prefer Matthew, write in Matthew. And just be, mindful that if you include your middle name for some reason, that's going to be included in your certificate and stuff like that. If you're an organization, yeah, really make sure that your got the correct organization name that you like to be referred to. So, for example, if you're a proprietary limited company and you want that on the certificate, include that in the organization name in the nomination form. Lastly, there's one of our most common questions, which I'm constantly surprised by, but I guess it depends on how you like to write. So write your answers to those questions in the way you feel most comfortable. For example, if you're used to writing first person, which I'd say most of us would be, like I have done ABC, then please write that way. If for some reason you prefer to write in a third person, so for example, Stephanie Commons just joined the call. Stephanie has achieved, a great deal in the last 12 months. That's okay as well. But what I would say is just be consistent. Try not to switch between first and third person because it can be a little bit confusing. So they're probably the main practical tips that I've got. So we'll move on. This is, really some of the secret sauce here. What are the judges looking for? And another way of thinking about that is what makes your nomination stand out to the judges? Now, if you're nominating in the community group award or outstanding achiever, for example, there's a lot of nominations coming into those categories. They're probably our two highest in terms of nominations coming in. So just be mindful that judges will be reading so many applications in that category. And it doesn't matter what category you're in, there will be obviously a big chunk of nominations there. So how do we stand out? First things you can do, the easiest one you can do is at the top of the nomination form, next to your own contact details, is a space for 2 referees. Definitely provide at least 1 referee. That's a huge one because what it's showing the judges is that there's other people external to your organization or external to you as the person who are vouching for you, who are wanting you to do well in this community achievement awards. And also they're just supporting you in general. So that's a really big one. And expert judges will often try and reach out to a referee. Or, for example, if we get to the later stages of judging and judges are really saying, okay, there's a couple of tight candidates here who could be, considered as finalists. If you've got a referee, it can help you stand out because they can call that referee and contact them. So provide at least 1. If you've got 2, list them there. And I would suggest just a quick text message or a quick call or something and let them know you're adding them to a referee or ask them first. And if you want to take that tip to the next level, when you ask them to be a referee, just ask if they wouldn't mind providing a small reference for you, a written reference, whether it's just a 1 paragraph or a couple of paragraphs. It can just be simple as an email, PDF the email, attach it to your nomination, or include it in as one of the text answers in the nomination form. They're really powerful as well. The next tip is to use the attachments as evidence. Sorry for the typo there. Use the attachments too as evidence, but you get the point. Essentially, you can really, drive home a point with a visual element. So an example I like to use is if you have spoken at a community event, you were a speaker there and you've added value to that community, then really show the judges that you did go to that event. Show you up on stage delivering that speech with a photo or something like that. And again, it's just really showing the impact of that thing that you're talking about. Or for example, if you're in business and you've quoted that in the last financial year, you had a huge result and you've grown by 20%. Of course, you can't always show all documents, but if you can show some kind of financial statement or something just to back up that claim, because anyone can write something in the text box, but backing it up with evidence is another thing. There are 10 attachments you can load up, but of course, 1 PDF can have more than 1 page, so you can get creative there. Another way you can kind of use evidence to support your nomination is with links. And again, using that example of speaking at a community event, if you haven't got a photo to attach, but there's a YouTube video of it, just pop the link in there right after you've said that you spoke at that event, and the judges can go to that link and see it. And it's a really powerful way to back up what you've just written. The next tip, and this one, I should mention at the top actually, that these tips are from judges themselves. I've canvassed 4 or 5 different judges and got their different, inputs. And there's some really commonality here from the different judges. And this one came up multiple times, is that they encourage people to refer to the category description. throughout the process. So for example, if you look at the category and you're reading it, yeah, that's my category, and then you're answering the questions, by the time you've gotten to the last question, that may have been a couple of weeks ago that you looked at the category description itself. So go back, just remind yourself. You can look at the keywords from the description. You can see what they're looking for there and refer to that within the questions. That's kind of like when you are going for, a job, and you've got the job ad there and there's key selection criteria. Obviously, you want to refer back to that key selection criteria and demonstrate how you're achieving it, similar to the category description. The next one came up a few times as well. So it's about showcasing your purpose and your impact. So I guess if you read that little dot point there, you can kind of think, oh, what does that mean exactly? So just remembering that what the work that you're doing obviously is for a purpose. If you're a business, you've got a problem that you're trying to solve for your business. So just remind the judges or explain that, don't, I guess, assume that they know what your purpose is. Really lay that out for them, then talk about how you're achieving that purpose and the impact you're having in your field, whether it's a business, whether it's the community, whatever that is. And that's not big noting yourself at all. It's just listing the achievements. And I guess, we encourage people to be really proud of what they've achieved. And that's the whole reason we have these awards, so that we can recognize people who are making a positive impact. Because by sharing your stories, we're going to inspire others in the community to try and strive for that type of impact as well. Lastly, be specific where you can. Again, I touched on it just before. Don't assume the judges know what you're talking about. If you're using a lot of abbreviations, if you're using jargon that's kind of industry specific or terminology that's not as common, spell that out. Try not to, I guess, brush over the facts. Be specific where you can. I hope that's kind of self-explanatory, because yeah, remembering that judges are from all different fields. There's always expert judges for that category. They will be experts in that field. They'll know what you're talking about. But when it goes to the executive panel, which is made up of members of media, from corporate sector, community sector, all over the shop, they may not know as much. So try and be specific, explain things, and will be a good result for everyone. So I want to throw it to people who may have a question. And if you're not comfortable taking yourself off mute and saying it out loud, feel free to pop it in the chat if you have any questions. And while we wait for people to, feel comfortable to ask a question, I'll just read through some of the categories to remind people, because sometimes people do forget you can nominate into more than one category. Up to 2 categories is what we allow. And it can be good to submit your nomination in one category, get that one done, focus on that one. And then if you've got time, have a look at the other categories on offer and see if you might fit in there and go into that one as well. You've already got your nomination details. We email you the PDF document with all the info. You can copy paste where appropriate. And it can be a good way to just bolster your chances.
I have a question there, Josh. Is it
Yes.
so can you recycle material if you apply for one award, and that material also applies for another award? Or
yes, it's a good point. I would hesitate to do a straight copy paste of every single question into the second award category. And each category, the questions, there may be, crossover on quite a few of the questions, but there's usually at least, say, 2 that are different. So use discretion there.
Okay.
But question 1 is largely the same in every award. Provide a background on what you're doing, and that will largely go across. There's usually a question about what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them. Those 2 will be fairly easy copy paste situation. Others, you can use probably 1 or 2 paragraphs, paste that in, and then, as I said before about referring to the category, that's when you can refer to the category, reference some keywords and how that paragraph you just copy pasted actually is appropriate for this category. So I do find that you can probably recycle 50 to 75% of the information with some tweaks, so it's not a straight copy. And one thing to keep in mind, each category does have independent judges for that category.
Okay, I was going to
For
ask.
example,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so if you are a community environmental sustainability initiative, you're in the EPA Sustainability Award for Community, you type that one in, and then you want to go into the Fonterra Agriculture Award, for example, because you're across both of those sectors. There will be 2, an expert judge, independent of the sponsor, and then Fonterra sponsor, for example, for that category.
Right.
They're reading through the Agriculture Award nominations, and then same on the EPA side. the executive panel, that's the one that sits across all of the categories. So they'll notice that you've used some of the same, but they understand that, they respect that, and they'll notice, oh, okay, I can see how you've actually amended the information to suit that category. So that'll actually stand out by doing that.
Okay. Yep.
Great
All right.
question.
Thanks very much, Josh.
No
That's
worries.
very helpful. I had to jump to my other meeting, but thanks very much for the session.
Absolute pleasure. See you later, Matthew.
Thanks, Josh.
So I'll read through these categories. Like I said, if you have a question, feel free to chime in. There's the Heather and Christopher Chong Outstanding Achiever Award, which is for an individual who's making an achievement, and that can largely be in the community, but it can be in other fields. But there's always a link to the community, so it can be for someone achieving great success, in their career, in their business, but that success is translating to a link to the community. So that keep that in mind for that award category. We touched on the Fonterra Agriculture Award and the EPA Sustainability Award. One thing to note is that there is an industry category and a community category, acknowledging that industry has really specific guidelines they have to adhere to. So how are you going above and beyond those guidelines to make a big impact? And community is clearly about smaller community groups, more grassroots kind of initiatives. MAIB is sponsoring the Disability Achievement Award and also the MAIB Community Safety Award. And those ones do have some specific criteria. So if you're in those categories, keep referring to the guidelines on those ones to see what they're about. Tasmanian Government Active Tasmania Award, all about encouraging people getting active and those initiatives, those programs, those volunteers who are helping, kids, teenagers, and adults alike being active. Healthy Tasmania Health and Wellbeing Award. There are distinctions there. There are some similarities, so definitely read through the description. But that one is really about well-being and health in a wider scope. So, if you're in the health industry, for example, emergency services, hospitals, and those kind of things, medical fields, then that will be much more suited. Well-being, like mental health as well, which we know is so important. The Awards Australia Community Group Award. So any type of community initiative, there's a group of people getting together. That's your category. Konica Minolta Customer Service Award is all about recognizing businesses who are putting customer service first. And in these day and ages of so many conglomerates, international companies, for example, who are online presence, and there's no, you're not getting any kind of customer service there. This category is all about how is someone standing out? How are they making the customer feel, at ease, welcome, and making everything as easy as possible? So I love that award. And lastly, another really special one, the Blue Line Laundry Empowerment Through Diversity and Inclusion Award. Blue Line Laundry has been a past winner of the awards, so pretty awesome that they're now sponsoring their own category. And it's really celebrating people who are doing what they do, which is giving people a chance, employing people who maybe have struggled to get a job for various reasons, giving them a chance and really championing, including people from all sectors, all walks of life. Got a great question here. Our organization entered the Community Group Award because we love helping others and providing the best experiences. We mostly volunteer run, although we're not a business. Could we still enter the Customer Service Award? That's a great question. And my understanding of the Customer Service Award is it's not limited to business, so I probably should have not zeroed in a business quite so much. Probably the large percentage of groups that are entering that are businesses. So if you're a community service and you are a community group providing that kind of outstanding customer service, you would still be eligible. And chances are you might stand out being not a business. So again, read through the category guidelines, just double check that you feel it's appropriate. And honestly, most of the time when you're reading the description, you're actually thinking, yes, that's me. That absolutely suits. So if you're not, if that doesn't happen for you, it's probably not appropriate category. Well, if that's the end of the questions, our team is always reachable at awardsaustralia.com, where you go to the contact us page. You can find our phone number, our email address. We're always here to answer questions whenever we can. And again, if you have experienced any issues with the website, our apologies for that. Bear with us, let us know, and we'll try and help you out the best we can. But otherwise, have a brilliant day, and we shall see you soon. We look forward to seeing all those nominations be submitted. and can't wait to celebrate you through the Community Achievement Awards. Thanks very much, Tracy. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.